I'd like to limit
Oh, I
board,
see how you are.
like to limit board members to only 2 questions during the next session.
Obviously, there's quite a few handouts, and I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start out with the cash balance in the general fund and the self-insurance, which is the one page with the blue and the red graph at the very top. So this, we have, these two funds are the ones that we have typically tracked throughout the years. So, used to be general fund, then it changed to education and operations. We had some capital projects and bus replacements. But over the years, you know, this is kind of a trend that we've had since 2006. So we'll start out with the good news that the education and the operations fund balance is the second highest that it's been. The self-insurance, which has, as you can see, has dropped. And there is another sheet that has the unified weekly claims. And I started working here in 11, and this is a metric that I track and share with Dr. Hall or Dr. Buck and Penny and our HR department. But this basically, every week we get a claim from Unified on expenses that they have paid, medical expenses that they have paid. So this is kind of a 10-plus year trend line. So as you look in 2012, you know, it was under $3 million. So we have more than doubled that for the past, as well since 2020, 2019. So as you can see, when you build up the balances, now there are other items in medical. You know, we have the clinic costs that are separate from this, and some prescription medical costs, and then we have contributions by employees. But this will kind of give you a quick trend. If they're paying it, that'll kind of give you a quick feel on how healthy our employee base and their families are. So, and a general trend on the medical costs. So, just as an FYI, I put where we are through our claim yesterday. We're at $3,238,000, and that amount year to date is down $309,000 from where we were at this point last year. So the good news is we are stabilizing, but the bad news is we're stabilizing at a high number. So you know, we have had some. You know, we try to continually monitor this. We've changed some networks. We, in I believe 2020, changed the contract with teachers and also the support staff. Prior to that point, a family plan cost the employee about $3,000 a year. We bumped that up to $5,000 a year, which percentage-wise is a large jump for our employees. The challenge is if you have 200 you know, people on a family plan and you're charging $2,000 more, that's $400,000 more. Well, when you're looking at $5 million, that doesn't move the needle as much as you would hope. I mean, it's certainly a challenge, you know, that we have been working with Unified on. You know, we have you know, continuing questions. We're starting to get questions about Moderna and Wegovy, the weight treatment drugs, which are extremely expensive. We do not cover those at this point. But you know, that is a trend with a lot of other employers that they have excluded them or are in the process of excluding them just due to the cost. So, like I say, that is the biggest part of the cash in the bank. If you look at the 6-month review, We do have on the second page, we have, our total cash balance is $27 million. And within that $27 million is our little over $6 million GO bond that we sold last year. So when we meet again, anticipate that this balance will be going down because we've just spent about $2 million of it tonight. So, Dr. Hall and I are going to meet with CSO on some other projects, so we hope to get moving on some projects to get that bond spent down and make some needed improvements to our buildings. So, like I say, the 27 million, when you take out the 6 million, 20 million, that has been a fairly steady balance that we probably had for 6-7 years, would you say? Also some good news, while it's bad if you are going out to get a mortgage, the higher interest rates have allowed us to invest the money. Since December of '22, we've earned about $830,000 worth of interest income, to help with some funding as well. So we are limited on, and our rate right now is about 5.3% on the bulk of our money. By law, the $6 million that we have borrowed, we cannot earn more interest than we're paying. So the rate that we're earning on that is what we are paying in interest on the bonds, which is 3.3%. So we have not lost any money or accrued interest expense by not putting that money on projects at this point. It's basically a wash, and like I say, now that we've got these roof projects going, we'll be getting that rolling. So certainly, if people listen to the news, it's anticipated that the Fed is going to start dropping rates, which obviously our interest rate that we earn is somewhat pegged to what the federal rate does. So as the balance goes down and the rate goes down, that's an area that we're going to be looking at as well. We won't be earning as much interest. So like I say, if you don't have cash, you got a problem. So that's probably, like I say, the quickest, dirtiest. Where are we? The financial statement for the 6 months will tell us basically what our appropriations have been in the three major funds: the education, operation, and debt service funds. And it'll give you a detail of line items that we use, our receipts as well as our disbursements. And like I say, that any of this, as you take it home, I know there's a lot of paper, and as you take it home, if there's questions, we'll certainly be glad to answer those. Mark, do you have one now?
Yes. Do we still send employees to a clinic?
We have a clinic available.
If they choose?
Yes.
Have you done anything, or is anything in the works to change any of that?
We are continually looking at utilization on that. We've had some discussions on some other, we are not tied long-term to that clinic. If there was another better opportunity, or it doesn't meet our needs at the time, we are, with the medical portion, along with pretty much everything else, we are continually looking at that to see if there's a more cost-effective or a more effective method that we can do it.
That's in Anderson, is that correct?
It is. It's right by, close to the Nestle plant. right off exit 222 that we currently share with Frankton, LaPel, Unified Group Services. And I think there might be NTN, one of the smaller factories up there. So
And
it's,
do we know how many, percentage of our employees actually use it?
we can run, I don't know, I can't answer that right this second, but I can get you that information. Yeah, I can get you that information. I guess the next, kind of the quickest, short version of what we are proposing to do is the two-page budget work session, August 15th. So, we have two basic, our two biggest funding sources are our state grant, which is based off of our student count, and then we have a property tax element. We also have some smaller license excise tax, commercial vehicle excise tax, and financial institution tax. So what we've done on this sheet is take a look at our student support, and as you look at line number 1, we have 4,527 students, and that was what we had in the fall of last year. And what I did just as a baseline comparison is assuming that we had the same number of students. That'll just tell you the difference in state support. So, $400,000 in state support, that's fine, but when you look at the percentage change, 1.35%, that's obviously quite a bit below the rate of inflation. So the 2025 budget was constructed under the assumption that we're going to have 150 more students this year. Now, and speaking with Dr. Hall, I know that that figure is high, and we do that for a couple of reasons. When the Department of Local Government Finance actually works this budget towards the end of the year, they will have our actual numbers, so they are going to adjust it to the actual numbers. If you estimate low, you're stuck with a low estimate. If you estimate high, they will clip you down to your actual student count. So we have always estimated our budget high because they are always going to clip it down. So we will advertise a higher appropriation and a higher levy than we know we're going to get. As you look, we are budgeting an assessed value of $900 million. Well, last year was 1.3. So the rates are high, much higher than I know that the Department of Local Government Finance, but the way their rules are set up to protect in case there's an error on our part, we need to adjust. We need to ask for a higher rate and a higher appropriations than we anticipate getting. I know Dr. Hall had kind of alluded to it, that student count is a moving number, so, he'll have more, the further along the school year goes, the more solid number we'll have on that. But just to kind of give you an idea, if it ends up being 50 more students, we're looking at an additional $350,000, up to 150, we'd have over $1 million. And I will point out, and I think it's on the spreadsheet, that the basic tuition support is not the total dollars we get. We do get a special ed grant, career and technical education grant, honors grant, but the basic grant is the quickest, what's the change from year to year. So, the 1.35% is less than it was last year. The state of Indiana will have a budget year next year, so starting July 1 of 25, they will have a brand new funding formula, so it's a little bit of a challenge to budget. We don't know what our student count in 2025 is, we don't know what our revenue is in 2025. So that's another reason we try to guess as high as we can on the appropriations, so we don't have to come back and ask for additional appropriations, so. The other main revenue source is our property tax, and here again, that is set by state statute. Our levy that has been approved by DLGF for 2024 for operations is $5,519,000. The state calculates what they call an assessed value growth quotient, which is, this year is 4%. By state law, it's the maximum it can be is 4%. And they look back on personal income over, I think, the six prior years. So obviously, we qualify as does every other school district in the state for the maximum 4% growth quotient. So our property tax levy, not what we would necessarily will collect, but our levy will increase by 220,000 approximately. So also the state of Indiana and the Department of Local Government put out forecasts on what they think we will lose due to property tax cap losses. So that is at the very bottom of the page. Fortunately, the state has estimated a little bit high, and our losses have been a little bit less than that, but you know, certainly they're projecting in 2025, you know, 1.36 million, which is a good chunk. So, as we flip to the next page, we have at the top our 2024 Department of Local Government approved budget, along with our proposed budget at this point. Like I say, this is a work session at this point, so we will continue to tweak the numbers. If Dr. Hall comes back and says, hey, I feel real solid about some, you know, some enrollment numbers, we may potentially tweak that a little bit. But what we would probably anticipate doing is at the next meeting, we will ask permission to advertise this budget on our website and the Department of Local Government Finance website before our public hearing. So, and that's all included in the budget calendar in the big packet. So, you know, the remaining appropriations in the far right-hand column are what we have been approved to spend for the remainder of the 6 months, July through December. Obviously, we are not going to spend till we have a zero cash balance. So, like I say, it's just kind of the way that the budget is prepared on that. So, you know, we've carried over some items. For instance, I know Candy Stewart was mentioning that the buses that were on our 23 bus replacement plan, you know, we did not get those in 23, nor does she anticipate that we will receive them in 2024. They're thinking January of 25. So we've carried those appropriations over to pay for those buses. So within the big packet, there is a 5-year bus replacement plan and a capital projects plan that we are required to do by law. And those, as I mentioned, are we would not spend the time to do those if it wasn't required by state law. So I was talking to one of our DLGF reps. One of the requirements is we're supposed to put them on our website, and I said, well, how do we prove that we've got them on in time for the public hearing? And his comment was, well, we don't even check that. We don't look at those. So I was like, well, okay, I guess. But on the DLGF website, it's timestamped, so we do have to do that. So it's required, and that's something that we will do. So within the big packet, like I said, we won't go through every single sheet together in this meeting, but it does have the budget calendar, and as I said, at the September 5th meeting, We will have some final numbers tweaked, and we will request permission to post those, so. We'll have the public hearing, which, that's essential to get a quorum at that meeting. That one's really tough to schedule, but we are well within the budget timeframe to get this budget approved. I know a few years, the city of Anderson, a few years ago, the city of Anderson didn't get theirs approved, so we may make a mistake, but that's not one we wanna make, so. As I mentioned, as you scroll through the 1782 notice payable, that gives you a 5-year trend of our assessed value for our school district, and obviously it's gone from $943 million in 2020 to 1.3 million, which, you know, given certainly the growth in the price of real estate along with the growth in development, that probably doesn't come as a surprise to anybody here. So that one I think is a little bit interesting. Scroll a couple back, and it has our circuit breaker loss since 2010. So since the circuit breaker has been into effect, you know, we've lost about $14 million property tax revenue. Yeah, some of that, probably a very small part, could be unpaid taxes, but I'm gonna guess 97% plus is probably circuit breaker loss, so, that is what it is. Next page has a collection of our property tax as a percentage of our levy. So we collected, you know, approximately, 95%, which is good. Certainly the assessed value going up helps that percentage. You know, we do have, some new taxing units with the fire territory that are at this, they're going, all the governmental entities are at the same trough with the same amount of money. So when you have another entity at the trough, your share's a little bit less. So here again, it is what it is. So
How much less was that for us total, for the fire territory?
it's really difficult to probably single out one entity in there. Let me see if we.
Why do you say is it single? Because has there been more than fire
Well-
territory coming in?
Because the tax rate on every other taxing entity is gonna have an effect on, how much circuit breaker loss. So, for instance, if the park board added a big bond that took a percentage, some of that levy, circuit breaker loss may have been attributable to higher levy that another entity had over a prior year. If that makes sense. So, on the next page, we have our collection that we had for the first half of the tax, first half of our property tax installment. One little difference this year that we've not had before. Prior to '24, we could request a waiver of taxes, and what that allowed us to do was split the property tax cap loss between the operations and the debt service. When we issued the GEO bond last year, we lost our ability to request that since it was considered new debt by the Department of Local Government Finance. So all of our property tax cap loss has to go against our operations fund. So if you look in the cash balance of, which is in the 6-month review, you'll notice that the debt service balance went from, I think, 2.8 to maybe 4.1, which is a little higher than, from 2.802 to 4.163, so it was up about 1.3 million. Had we been under the old rules, we could have allocated part of that money to the operations fund. So obviously on the first sheet that I gave you with the blue and the red line graph, under the old rules, we would have had more in the operations fund, so it probably would have been equal to or exceeding last year's, or December's total, so that is one difference this year. We typically collect a little bit more of the property tax on the first installment because there's some taxpayers that pay their whole year on their first installment, so they don't have to fiddle with it, so.
Did we know ahead of time that we would lose that ability to move
Yes,
funds?
yeah.
I mean, it still is to our benefit to have done.
If you want to raise money.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes, yeah, that's, yes. I mean, it is, we work with the hand that we're dealt.
That's
And
right.
that's, we absolutely had some urgent repairs, so. This actually, the next sheet is, and I apologize for the small print, but this is a breakdown of all of our individual debt. So if you'd like a larger print version, I'll be glad to send that to you as well. So, and then the next sheet has basically a breakdown by year of where our debt is. And I know we have talked about, you know, working with our architects and kind of developing lists on projects that we need, because we do have a fairly significant cliff of debt coming off. And certainly we will have projects that we will need, but you know, that, we're certainly aware of that and working towards, you know, backfilling that with the needs of our buildings. Next sheet is kind of a history of enrollment for close to 30 years, I guess, at this point. And as I say, if you hop down to the bottom, the 150, that is, we're not going to have that many students. I know that, but like I say, that's just as a budgeting point. So kind of show you our peak year was, to this point was 15, 16, and we probably will come close to surpassing that this year. I mean, we'll probably be very close to that, so just as kind of reference on that. Next page, this was our fall student count, and you can kind of see the breakdown by students. You know, a little surprising that our smallest class was kindergarten last year. So it'll be curious to see, you know, if that trend continues. I know that the national and worldwide birth rate are falling pretty dramatically, so, you know, it'll be curious to see how that trend continues. But, I mean, obviously, when you have 314, we obviously lost more seniors than the year that in the 2023 graduating class. So, you know, when we backfilled those, we have to grow new students either through out of district or other grade levels. You know, because if you graduate 330 and you start at 314, you're already down in the whole 16 students. So.
And this is for last year. What's our current kindergarten total?
Well,
Do
Dr.
we know?
Miller hopefully will, I see her diligently pounding on that computer, so.
Okay.
Good.
That kind of replaces what fell off.
Yeah. Yeah, 334, and like I say, that was the fall student count, so, Yes. The next, the legal sheet, and this is one that I kind of debated on whether to include. This is a pretty detailed list by line item of our tentative budget at this point, so the Cliff Note version probably is maybe what people would prefer to see. I know if Chris Boots was here, he would, but anyway, but that is available, and I tell you, if you would like to see the in-depth version or the working copy of the novel, it's on my desk in the
No.
back, so.
I don't wanna kill another
Okay,
tree.
Well, it's there for anyone that wants it.
Appreciate
so.
it.
And like I say, the last two items are the capital projects plan and the school bus replacement plan, which, like I say, I'm not gonna spend a lot of time on those unless people have questions. I know Mr. Lord got excited when he saw a playground at one of the elementaries, but like I said, that was
Yes, very excited.
the roof at East has been on there for 12 years, so, you know, it's,
What's your hurry?
so,
Teaching a little patience.
Would it be possible to get a copy of the insurance premiums,
yes.
health insurance premiums?
When you, a copy of, since we're self-insured, you want the weekly breakdown or?
Monthly? Is there a monthly premium that's like what do teachers get when they're signing up for insurance?
You talking about the coverage that they have or the cost?
The premiums.
The premiums, yes, we, yeah, we can have HR get a list on the premium. We offer a traditional plan,
Mhm, I know
family or
there's a-
single, and then we also have a high deductible, single and family as well. So, we can get you that.
I don't know how
Do
hard
you
it
have
would
very
be.
many people that sign up for the high deductible?
That's-
Young ones.
That was my next question. I don't know how hard it would be to get what percentage of people are signing up for the traditional versus the high deductible.
I think we can get that information as well. More and more are, the school contributes, Penny, help me out, $125 towards a family plan. Per month. And 50 for a single plan? We, rather than to guess, we will get you that.
Are you talking about towards the premium or towards the health
Towards
savings
the
account?
Health savings
Okay.
account. Yeah.
Do you hear, excuse me, do you hear any feedback from people that are opting to a high deductible that wish I hadn't done that, or I'm good with it? And I know it all depends on how healthy somebody is.
Westwood,
Yeah.
I love it.
When we first initiated the high deductible plan, there was a clause that, once you were on that, you could not go back to the traditional plan, with the thinking that, Angie knows, in 2 years, she's gonna have to have a knee replacement, so she'll go on the high deductible, but then flip back to the traditional, and then after that, recovery.
Work the
hop-
system.
Yes, work the system. We did, I'm gonna guess 3 or 4 years ago, change that to where you could change if you had a life-changing event, for instance, that you got divorced or married or had children, so, or widowed, okay, yeah, widowed, so, so right now, if you were on the high deductible plan, unless one of those events happens, you are in the high deductible plan. So I have not heard anyone, I speak from experience, Melanie and I went on the high deductible plan a couple years ago. We certainly don't have any regrets on that either. I know that there's other people that have been on the high deductible plan as well, that,
I think it depends on, like, the age of a person and your, like somebody said, your health. I wouldn't do it because of my issues, but,
Yeah.
I think it's a good opportunity for somebody to have a choice.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, certainly, obviously, the high deductible, the employee bears more of the out-of-pocket risk up to a certain level, but,
What is that level?
it
What
is-
is the out-of-pocket? Is it like
well,
4
it
and 8,
depend-
5
well,
and 10?
It depends, if you go, we have multiple tiers, so, Ascension is our preferred network where we have our highest volume discounts. So, the deductible for, employees going to Ascension and anyone in that network, Ascension's not the only one, but the primary one in that network, are lower than going to our second tier, which may include community, which are lower than our third tier, which is IU. So, it,
We
it's.
offer lots of choices.
It's multi-tiered, and obviously, you know, here again, when you look at the figures that we saw on our weekly claims, you know, we've got one pot of money that we can work with for salaries and for insurance, and to the extent that we can reduce that insurance, since we're self-insured, there's more money for other things to do. And, you know, we occasionally will have to switch a network, and you talk about feedback, sometimes we'll get a little constructive criticism or pushback, or however you want, bitching or whatever you want to call it. But, you know, and obviously, when you're dealing with people's healthcare providers, it is a challenge. But when you see the numbers that we're dealing with, we really don't have any choice when we look at our runs. You know, Unified will have all of our runs, and they will say, you know, they will come back and say, you know, based off your experience last year, and based off of the savings rates that these providers are giving, we anticipate that you're going to be saving X dollars by switching the network. Well, you know, if it's 50,000 and a $5 million, then we may think about that. But anytime that we switch, you know, we've always felt that it is significant enough for the inconvenience that it causes our employees, knowing that it does cause our employees some inconvenience, but, you know, we still have to try to be good stewards of the money that we have, so.
Have we ever had a challenge for our school system by someone that's been on the high and wants to go back to the low without a life-changing situation?
No, not to my knowledge. You know, more and more, our high
Or
deductible,
how you can fight it?
well,
You just
Sign
have to
a
have a
contract.
life-changing
Yeah.
event.
yeah, I think it's in the, I mean, I think,
Yeah.
It's in it to where if that happened, you can do it.
I mean, Franklin LaPel has been on wholly high deductible for 10, 12 years. Every employee's on a high deductible plan. And our percentage has increased, you know, our percentage has increased over the years.
And if you really make use of the health savings account,
Use mine.
it's kind of a win-win.
It is, because, you know, for instance, you know, if you're on a family plan and you could go with a traditional plan where you know you're gonna have $5,000 withheld from your earnings for the traditional plan, you wanted to put that towards an HSA and combine it with the $125 a month that the school is giving, you know, you're gonna have 6,000 plus of money to spend on your deductible. Well, and I probably shouldn't quote the numbers, but I think Ascension is $4,000 per member. So, if you only have two, husband and wife on there, and one of them hits their max, and the other one doesn't, you know, hits half their max, well, you're at break even. You know, if each of you hit half your max, you know, you build up some money in that HSA account. So, and here again, part of the theory between the HSA is, you know, if that expense is 100% on you, you're gonna be a little more careful about, you know, where that money's spent. But, you know, at our 6-month reviews with our health insurance, you know, Unified obviously has a large book of business, so, you know, they can tell us, you know, where we are versus, you know, the industry averages and on a lot of metrics as far as employee cost. And, you know, here again, when we were at $1 for a traditional plan, obviously, you know, we were the low percentage of our employees. So we have brought that up to where we're not out of bounds as far as what their book of business is. But, you know, it's kind of the 80-20 rule in life. You know, 20% of the people cause 80% of the problems. You know, there are a handful of people that truly need the insurance that drive the bulk of our costs, and that's, you know, not necessarily the same ones all the time, and that's no different than, you know, if you have, you know, cancer or, you know, high-risk pregnancy or, you know, chronic
It didn't take
condition. I mean,
much.
there are, you know, prescriptions that we cover, that, I mean, certainly are, you know, life-changing to our employees, but they are, you know, they are costly. And, I mean, that's what we have insurance for, but, you know, like I say, it is always changing, and obviously outside of wage expenses, that certainly is by far and away our second biggest expense, bar none. And, I mean, it is ever changing, and, you know, we try to stay on top of that, and, you know, we certainly are gonna have to take a look, you know, as we have not negotiated this year's teacher's contract, but, I mean, the self-insurance fund balance depleting is not, we can't do that long-term, and, you know, we've had a fairly consistent record of some consistently high claims, so, you know, you know, that's, we're gonna have to address that.
Did you say Frankton LaPel is solely high deductible? I'd
That's
be
my
curious to
understanding.
know how much the corporation is contributing to those HSAs.
Somebody said it's in their contract.
Nothing?
That was my last
Okay.
conversation with them, nothing.
Wow. Okay, but that's
And they
now,
have
right
premiums
now,
on
every
top
2
of that.
years.
Right,
Yeah.
but
So
premiums
at the
for
end of that 2-year
high
contract,
deductibles are
somebody
typically
could opt out.
a lot less expensive.
Yeah, I don't
There's another
remember
contract.
what those dollar amounts were, but they run $1 like ours.
I understand that, but if it's a new contract,
And I
They
don't
did
know
have-
what their deductibles, you know, I don't, you know, I'm not
Right.
extremely familiar with them, but I do know that, I think when Bobby Fields was superintendent is when they implemented the high deductible, and that's been
Well,
a
there's
few
a
years ago.
max for what it can be,
Yeah.
right?
They do have, I know they do have some incentives for their employees, like some health incentives. And so if they meet those goals, then they will contribute money into the
Right.
health savings account, but not on a regular basis.
A lot of them do that, like if you don't smoke and whatever, you get discounts.
That's kind of the quick version of this, so I realize there's a lot of information, and like I say, I'd be glad to answer any questions as you get this and look through it, or any questions in general, but I mean, I appreciate the whole office really helped on getting this, so I appreciate everyone's help, because it was certainly a team effort to get it to this point, so.
That's huge. Thank you all.
Yeah, no
It's
kidding.
a lot of work.
Thank you
this-
for the novel.
At this time, I'd accept a motion for adjournment of the work session.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second that.
Penny?
Andy Brown,
Yes.
Doug Evans,
Yes.
Kevin Gaither,
Yes.
Mike Hanna,
Yes.
John Boyd.
Yes.
Mark Thompson,
Yes.
Joe Hudson.
Yes. Meeting adjourned. Now it's time for our executive session.